Life never fails to teach. Question is, what have you learned? It had just snowed in my backyard. A sharply slanted California hillside looked like the perfect sledding hill. I imagined starting the perfect sled run at my back deck and winding all the way down to the creek. I would have to find a way to slow down before going into the water, but I wasn't too worried about that. What's the worst that could happen? For some reason, I never actually answered the question. I was 10 years old and invincible. If memory serves, our family didn't own a sled, but I was not the kind of kid to let that get in the way. A cardboard box unfolded into a sheet should do just as well. If I held up the front edge while sliding, I should be zipping downhill like a bobsled team in no time. I immediately ran into a problem when I mounted my cardboard chariot. The bristly cut weed stalks poked through the 2-inch snowfall, serving as highly efficient brakes for my sled. Being a problem solver, I deduced that what was needed was a steeper slope to overcome the friction. There was one such place in my neighbor's piece of the hill. It was so steep that a small gully had eroded at the base of it. Perfect. Just what I need. I dragged my cardboard over the property line and staged myself in the best spot. I knelt down, grasped the leading edge of the cardboard, and immediately started sliding. For a second, I felt like the smartest boy on earth. You don't need a sled to go sledding. I had outsmarted the system. Isn't that how it always works? You think you have outsmarted the system just before it eats your lunch. The angle of the hill directed me straight toward the gully. I realized my mistake, but too late. My brilliant cardboard sled caught on a clump of weeds and stopped. I, however, did not. I flipped headfirst into the gully, striking the back of my neck and then my lower back. The rapid onset of pain was dizzying, but I was fine. I was 10, therefore invincible. The turn of events had happened so quickly that I struggled to comprehend what had happened. My sled landed on top of me in the gully. I couldn't orient myself for some time. I don't know how much time. I remember seeing sparkles of light spinning around in the sky above my head, trying to understand how my perfect plan had gone wrong. I jumped to my feet and immediately fell over again. How had I not foreseen this possibility? I cried and called for my mom, but I was far from where she could hear me. I rolled onto my hands and knees and stood more slowly. My neck throbbed and my lower back felt bruised. I couldn't see much through my tears, but there was nothing to do but walk back to my house and find my mom. That was the injury that kicked off my chronic back problems. Not sure how exactly, but during the next week I remember the pain got worse and worse instead of better. 37 years of back and joint problems later, and that moment still seems like the dividing line between my two lives. BP, before pain, and WP, with pain. The fall didn't create my back problems. The fall wasn't that bad. Nothing broke. I think I had an underlying vulnerability in my connective tissues that the sledding mishap revealed. But that was that. My childhood ended. Pain causes rapid maturity, and that's what happened to me. I had to be grown up now, or the pain would swallow me. I went from an innocent 10 to a high-mileage 30 in a year. Life never fails to teach. Pain and adversity are particularly effective instructors. They can either embitter you, or they can make you stronger and wiser. It all depends on what lessons you learn, how your heart responds to the pressure. Nothing could have prepared me for the severity of the back pain that steamrolled over my life during the next 5 years. The fifth lumbar vertebra became the fiery source of trouble and resentment. But it somehow made my entire skeleton wonky. Mid-back, neck, wrists, jaw? I don't know how. but I suddenly wasn't invincible anymore. This was a very hard change for a 10-year-old boy. Maybe it would be at any age. I was not prepared for it. Before, I could slip, trip, jump, and fall without a care in the world. With my new spine, I couldn't twist without feeling the fire. Running was out of the question. I became slow-moving and cautious because an ergonomic error cost days of spasms. I spent so much time on my back, laying on ice packs, that it felt as if my body had been robbed from me. All that was left was my mind. No, not literally. I am just saying that's what it felt like at age 10. So I became a deep thinker. Sometimes I raged. Sometimes I dreamed. I grieved, battled, and whined. I whined so much that I became sick of hearing myself whine. I prayed for healing. I begged for healing. My thought life became a struggle with God. I realized I had a choice, like a fork in the road. I could blame and reject God because this horrible thing had happened to me, or run to Him for comfort, encouragement, and strength. I must admit that I wrestled with this choice daily in the following years. Day after day, I would rage and despair. My battle took place between my ears, but in many ways my entire world had become my mind. It was a gruesome, blood-splattered, muddy field on which I fought my emotions as the dragon of pain pursued me relentlessly. When it became obvious that my back would not heal, I questioned God. When it improved slightly, I thought God had healed me. When the pain flared up again, I doubted and questioned more. I asked why. I screamed, why? I demanded that God help me. I begged that He help me. I can tell you one thing for certain. Though He did not heal me, God came closer in my pain. He walked with me through my pain. He demonstrated that He was real and loved me in my pain. He helped me understand, in time, that He loved me even though He did not heal me. My life became a cycle of flare-ups followed by chiropractic visits, massage therapy, and physical therapy. This was my new physical life. I could no longer run and rampage through the woods with my brother. I couldn't wrestle. Well, the list of things I could no longer do grew with each re-injury. It didn't seem like the sledding accident could have caused all this permanent instability, but that was the point where it started. That was my fork in the road. My life before pain, my life with pain. How would I relate to God? That seemed to be the main question my back pain asked of me. Run away or run toward? Once I decided to run toward God, I began to harvest the good fruit that can grow from tragedy. Maturity, empathy, wisdom, and contentment. My pain changed me. It forged a new person from the ore of my 10-year-old self. It prepared me to survive future crucibles, which turned out to be much worse. Without the training ground of my pain, I could not have survived what was to come. Yes, when I say survive, I do mean literally. When I was a boy, I remember watching a cartoon portrayal of King Solomon's dream. He was a young king making sacrifices to the Lord at the high places of Gibeon. God appeared to Solomon in a dream. God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give to you." Solomon answered, "Now, Lord my God, you have made me your servant, king, in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. So give your servant a discerning heart, to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." 1 Kings chapter 3, 5 through 14. I remember being struck by this story and the value of the wisdom that Solomon was given. more valuable than the wealth he accrued during his lifetime, more precious than a long life, more rare than his fame. Wisdom. That should be the thing I pursue. I prayed, God, would you give me wisdom too? Turns out that God answered that prayer. I've learned so much through my pain. Though at the time I was probably asking for a miraculous download of wisdom, Matrix style. I know Kung Fu. What I got was the God of the universe walking with me through pain, teaching me wisdom through everyday circumstances. That is an answer to prayer, though it does make me hesitate to pray for the skill of patience or contentment. So far, I've learned that life never fails to teach. The question is, what are you learning?